Springfield, the third largest city in the state of Massachusetts. This city, which dates back to the 1600s, was one of the powerhouse manufacturing centers of the East Coast. Over its long history, it has seen many ups, downs, and times of great change. While not a major East Coast city, it has long played an important part in the economy and history of it. Its story over the years has been notable, for better and worse. This is What Happened to Springfield, Massachusetts. Springfield, Massachusetts was established in 1636 by William Pynchon on the banks of the Connecticut River. In its early decades, it would face the trials of King Philip's War, a war with Native Americans in the 1600s, and then a war with Britain in the American Revolution. In its early history, it would be known for farming. However, it was the American Revolution that would really change this city, when the city's namesake arsenal would be founded in 1777 for the Continental Army. In the mid-1790s, the arsenal would become an armory, and in turn would make Springfield become a major manufacturing center for military arms. From 1790 onward, the city would see massive growth, growing from at least 7.1% to as much as 75% each decade from 1790 all the way to 1930. Not long after the armory began, Springfield would see a renaissance throughout the early 1800s, seeing several new inventions and American-made products begin to be produced there. Products such as rubber stamps and lathes would be invented there, while products such as muskets and dictionaries would see their first American-made production there. Aside from being a center of firearms production through the armory, Springfield would see another firearms producer come into the fold, when Smith & Wesson was founded in the 1850s there. Between Smith & Wesson and the Springfield Armory, Springfield would be put on the map in the 1860s with the American Civil War, which would demand an incredible amount of firearms production. Going into the 20th century, the city's economy would diversify, with motorcycles becoming a product of Springfield via Indian manufacturing. The 1890s would even see the game of basketball be invented in Springfield. Springfield's success in the business world would correspond in population growth at high levels well into the 20th century. By the 1930s, said growth would level off. However, World War II, like the Civil War, would require major firearms production once again, and the Springfield Armory would see employment and manufacturing reach an all-time level during its existence. 14,000 employees, roughly, were working at the armory at this point in time. This, however, would not last, and over time, the armory would become less of a producer and more of a designer in arms, until it would finally be shut down in 1968 due to government budget cuts. This would, without question, be a major blow to Springfield. However, the 1950s would also see the end of Indian motorcycles being made in Springfield, and the 1960s would see the Connecticut River be cut off from the city via highway construction. In the 1960s and 70s, Springfield would lose over 20,000 people, and afterward would begin a great stagnation in population that has continued through today. Springfield would become well known for crime in subsequent decades, and would far exceed Massachusetts and the US in most statistical crime categories through the 2000s and much of the 2010s. The city's waterfront is still cut off from the Connecticut River, making redevelopment a challenge. Aside from high crime in the 2000s, Springfield would be in such a bad financial situation that the state would have to manage the city's finances beginning in 2004. Local government spending was unchecked, and bankruptcy was a real possibility at this point. Though things were very bleak, Springfield would see a slow but steady improvement. Crime would drop over time, the financial situation would improve, and new jobs in railcar production and at a new casino would emerge. $100 million would be spent to build a CRCC railcar building, and nearly $1 billion would be spent on a new MGM casino. There has been a small recovery in population, though it has paled in comparison to nearby Massachusetts cities such as Boston and Worcester. Today's economy is definitely that more of a service-based economy, with many jobs in education, finance, and healthcare. So what happened? Springfield's economy was heavily reliant and grew on old industry. War industry fluctuates heavily and is not usually consistent. with more current wars being fought at much smaller scales than were in wars past. Other industries such as Webster dictionaries will struggle to find relevance in today's world. Older companies such as Smith & Wesson still employ many in the area though. Springfield did, however, manage to avoid major population losses that were seen in the Rust Belt, and today it is pretty much somewhat of a middling city in America. Perhaps more redevelopment and investment that has been seen lately can help things turn around for the better. This, however, remains to be seen. Thank you for watching.